Hey Fuzzbutts, I'm Silverpaw Reads, and today I'm bringing you Chapter 5 of The Storm Within. It took a moment for Fox to comprehend the situation he had gotten his team into. With wide eyes, he clambered away from the table as quickly as his damaged body would allow. Falco and Slippy scrambled towards his spot on the floor where he was now hyperventilating. Fox! It can't be. The vulpine was completely overcome with terror. His clenched stomach felt like it would implode upon itself. Oh my god, he whispered. A cacophony of clashing signals were assaulting his mind, some more reasonable than others. Wolf should be dead. Kill him. Defend yourself. Kill him now. You're injured. You made a terrible mistake. You don't want to hurt yourself anymore. You're suffocating. He doesn't deserve to live. You're suffocating. But above all else was one relentless message, roaring in his head far louder than all the others. What have you done? He shut his eyes and clamped his hands to his head in an attempt to silence the intrusive voices. Crystal knelt down in front of him. He was now in the far corner of the room, curled against the wall feebly. Oh my god, he whispered again. Fox. Oh my god. Fox, I need you to calm down. At this point, his entire head was buried in his arms. Oh my god. You are okay. Everything is okay. She spoke in a gentle, reassuring tone, articulating every word with care. Fox's breathing began to slow as she continued. He can't hurt us. She paused. He can't hurt you. Fox looked up through his arms, his eyes shining with emotion. You don't know that. You don't know for sure. Just look at him. Fox could barely get himself to peer over Crystal's shoulder at the lupine on the bed. His ankle, two of his ribs, and his wrists are all broken. He's got lacerations across his entire body, and he's still recovering from hypothermia and severe blood loss. Wolf's chest rose and fell, slowly but steadily, while the surrounding machines whirred and beeped as if in disapproval of his sorry state. Can't you see? It's a miracle he's even alive at all. The vulpine began to realize the truth of Crystal's words and nodded, his eyes falling back upon her as she continued. There's no way anyone in this condition could ever lay a finger on any of us. He nodded once more, his panic beginning to subside as his breathing slowly returned to normal. You're right. He can't hurt us. Crystal's telepathy had always allowed her to figure out exactly what was bothering Fox. As a result, to pinpoint exactly how to assuage his fears and calm his nerves. Ever since she joined the team, Fox had always appreciated her support. But in the current situation, he was especially grateful for her reassuring words and emphatic nature. She smiled reassuringly as she gently took his hand in hers. Are you able to stand up again? Fox paused for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, I'm all right now. She turned towards Falco and Slippy, who had been awkwardly standing behind her since Fox had fallen to the floor. Could you two help him into that seat over there? The two obliged, eager to be of use again. Falco held out his hand. Ready, pal? Fox took a deep breath. Yeah, let's go. He gritted his teeth as his teammates hoisted him onto his feet and towards the other side of the room. With ragged breaths, he sank into the round seat as Peppy addressed the team. All right, everybody. Clearly there are some topics at hand that require our immediate attention. I'm sure you're all feeling a wide variety of emotions towards recent events. He briefly caught Fox's eye. But I'm going to have to ask that all of you remain calm while we discuss the unexpected situation we found ourselves in. Slippy shifted uncomfortably as the hair continued. Now that Fox has caught up to our current situation, let's cut to the chase. We need to decide what to do with Mr. O'Donnell immediately. Falco spoke first, much to the surprise of nobody. You all know I want nothing to do with Wolf. He's caused our team nothing but trouble. Crystal was about to speak up before the avian continued, cutting her off. That scumbag is dangerous to keep on our ship. What if he kills us all in our sleep? He won't, Crystal interjected. He can't. Falco gave her an irritated look as she continued. In his current state, Wolf won't be hurting... Falco's right, Slippy piped up. Why should we keep an enemy on board? That's crazy. What if he's only faking his injuries? Crystal blinked in surprise. Slippy, have you ever tried to fake broken bones, lacerations, hypothermia, maybe blood loss? Yeah, we get it. He looks pretty banged up, but the frog's got a point. Wolf surprised us before, and he'd easily do it again if he got the chance. Her eyes widened. Even after all this work Fox did to save him, you two just want to throw him back on Fachina? He'll die without our help. Peppy joined the conversation. It would certainly make our jobs easier if we weren't burdened by him. The bird spoke up again. You see? We gotta keep our guard up, Crystal, and here you are saying we should keep him around? What the hell? I'm having a hard time believing you three want to just dispose of him like he's some stray piece of rubbish. Fox watched the team's discussion turn bitter as tempers flared and words flew out like bullets. His immediate reaction to the possibility of Wolf being on board was, logically, to throw him off as well. Falco was right. O'Donnell was a menace who had only caused the team trouble ever since the first encounter with him all those years ago. To keep him nearby was a severe danger to everyone on board. The vulpine studied Wolf, lying on the table, inert, powerless and unaware of the frenzied feud around him actively deciding his fate. Wolf and Fox were the only two who lay silent amid the surrounding chaos. Even in his broken state, the lupine had an air of intensity and ferocity about him that was intimidating Fox. It was almost as if he was grimacing. Despite his state of consciousness, thinking of how he might react to the situation after waking up sent a shiver down Fox's spine. After all this trouble to rescue him, wouldn't you want to get some answers from him? Crystal's usually composed demeanor was about to falter against Falco's blind rage. I can assure you, there's more to him than you. What kind of answers are we talking about, huh? The bird gestured in the dismissal of Crystal's argument. He hates our guts. Why? Why does he want us? Does he want us all dead? There's clearly nothing we can gain from letting him stick around. You don't know that for sure. And you do? Falco practically shouted the question at her. A tense silence crept in to fill the sudden absence of noise. The bird's anger quickly subsided as he realized the obvious answer to his question. Crystal? He asked quietly. The psychic's hands were clenched into fists at her side. Her eyes were focused laser-like on the floor beneath her feet, as if trying to burn a hole through the metal plating. Falco questioned her again before trailing off. Crystal, are you telling me he's not gonna... She spoke in a low voice. I've been trying to tell you all along. Alright, look. All I'm saying is, I know what you're saying! Falco was taken back by her sudden volume as she continued. I've known all along! You've kept interrupting me to tell me about how much you hate his guts, and how he's a threat to our team, and how you want him dead, but have you forgotten that I can read your fucking mind, Falco? Of course I know your side of the argument! Her composure had broken entirely. Maybe if you just shut your fucking beak and take a moment to listen to what others had to say for once, then maybe you'd actually learn a thing or two, and you wouldn't be so quick to discount Wolf's entire existence! The entire team was stunned into silence by her uncharacteristic outburst. As she left the room, visibly shaking, hands still balled into fists, she stopped for a moment, barely turning her head. You're all heartless bastards. And without another word, she was gone. Falco was at a loss for words, his beak hanging open limply for a moment before he regained senses. Oof. He took a deep breath, ruffling his feathers in an attempt to regain some dignity. Man, I've never seen her that mad before. Slippy nodded nervously. Me neither, that was intense. And she really still thinks we should keep Wolf around? I can't believe it. The two continued to voice their disapproval while Fox studied the victim of their discussion once more. Every time he saw the body upon the table, he was overtaken by a subtle fear unlike any he had known before. The lupine's physical state alone was enough to make Fox's stomach turn, but the mere fact that the figure in front of him was Wolf O'Donnell, the Wolf O'Donnell, was enough to twist his stomach into a fight-or-flight knot of adrenaline. At that moment, there was nothing he wanted more than to be rid of the problematic pilot. He forced himself to stop, however, and evaluate the situation rationally. Tempers were running high, and Fox knew better than anyone how readily emotion could overpower logic in the wrong circumstances. He watched the lupine's bloodied chest rise and fall as he processed the recent events. A strange mixture of pride and shame stirred inside of him as he realized he heroically risked his own life to have unknowingly saved that of his most dangerous foe. As much as he wanted to throw Wolf off the ship, however, he had to admit that Crystal did raise a valid point. If they were careful, he and his team could take advantage of the opportunity to get plenty of valuable information from Wolf before getting rid of him. The bird had turned his attention to Peppy. Can we just kick him off already before he wakes up and tries to kill us all? Well, let's leave him here on Fachina while we're still in orbit. Just looking at him gives me the heebie-jeebies. Peppy addressed them like a babysitter would address an unruly child. Now, settle down. If it were up to me, I would do the same, but of course standard protocol still dictates that we must hold an official vote before we make any major decisions regarding our... He frowned disapprovingly at Wolf. Guest. His eyes moved to Fox, who by now had adopted a somewhat more upright position in his chair. Fox, are you able to walk? I'm starting to get my bearings, yeah? Good. Would you please go and retrieve Crystal so we can take the vote? I fear the rest of us may have... The hare twiddled his thumbs nervously. Offended her. The others eyed each other awkwardly. That's somewhat of an understatement, isn't it? Fox considered chewing them out for their behavior right then and there, but figured Crystal deserved to do it herself. I'll go get her. Be right back. He rose from the chair, acutely aware of the worried focus of 3 pairs of eyes. He took a few cautionary steps, then as soon as he confirmed that he wouldn't faint, he picked up his pace and left the room in search of her. As Fox walked down the narrow hallway, he pondered where Crystal might have gone. Knowing her habits, his first instinct was to check her bedroom. He made his way towards the living quarters. He couldn't remember the last time he'd walked around the ship without wearing his pilot's boots. It was both refreshing and exciting to feel the cold, metallic floors against his bare feet as they guided him across the ship in a similar fashion. The Great Fox's living quarters consisted of a hall leading to 6 small bedrooms, 3 on each side of the hall, no doubt for the sake of architectural symmetry. The team of 5 had never needed the 6th room behind the last door on the left, but it certainly didn't hurt to have an extra run around just in case. As he approached the door to Crystal's room, he stopped at the sound of her sobbing from within. He didn't knock, nor did he ask her to open the door. He simply waited silently until he heard a broken voice call from behind the metal porthole. "Leave me alone, Fox." He said nothing. Unlike a certain avian, Fox knew when to stop talking. Crystal didn't often read minds. She respected others' privacy as much as her own. But Fox knew she wouldn't be able to resist reading his as he stood outside her door. Without a word, he began to recall recent events. He recounted the sorry state of Wolf's ship on the surface of Fachina. He revisited the terror he felt as he returned from the surface of the planet and his own compromised ship. He remembered the excruciating pain of the glass windshield ripping through his back as he fell to the hangar floor. The confusion he felt upon waking in the medbay. The panic when his team was acting so strange about their guest. The mental breakdown he fell victim to upon discovering the identity of the pilot. Fox shook his head to derail a harmful train of thought. Crystal's sobs had softened. He began his thought process anew. He thought about how Crystal had assuaged his fears and calmed him down. He thought back to the argument between her and the others in the medbay, and how maturely she'd handled the verbal assault for as long as she had. He thought about how appalled he was at the others' behavior. He stopped for a moment. The fact that, despite his initial objections, Crystal's argument had convinced him that it really was best to keep Wolf on board in order to... He heard a faint gasp in silence. 1, 2, 3... Shwoom! The door swiftly left its place, revealing a clearly distressed Crystal. She eyed Fox with a surprised yet somber expression. He could see her puffy eyes shining even in the dim light of the hallway. "You actually agree with me?" she nearly whispered. "I didn't at first," Fox clarified, "but once I'd gotten over myself, I realized you were right. We can't just leave Wolf out there, not in his current state, not after all we've done to rescue him." She sniffed and a ghost of a smile flickered across her face. "I didn't think I'd convinced anything of anything in that room." "Well, you would have also convinced me that the others are indeed heartless bastards, but I already knew that." Crystal laughed as Fox resumed. That said, though, I know they'll come around if we try to convince them again. We've just got to be patient and persistent. Now come on. Fox took her hand and began to lead her back towards the medbay. Let's go save Wolf. Crystal smirked as she followed his lead. Again, you mean? Oh, you know you're right, Fox entertained the thoughts as he left the hall they came. He owes me big time. The conversation in the medbay faltered as soon as Fox and Crystal returned. Upon sight of the two, Slippy and Falco immediately stood up from their chairs and offered them to the duo, as if on cue. Fox quietly thanked Slippy for his seat. Crystal said nothing to Falco. Alright everybody, let's make this quick. Peppy addressed the team in a tired voice. All in favor of leaving Wolf on Fachina? Falco raised his hand immediately, followed by Slippy and Peppy. All eyes fell upon Fox as a tense moment of silence ensued. He sat calmly in his chair, watching the others attentively. Fox? They eyed him suspiciously. The vulpine returned eye contact, but his hand remained at his side. Are you not... I think we should keep Wolf on board, Fox spoke calmly and clearly. Falco and Slippy were quick to protest. Are you crazy? What are you thinking, Fox? Peppy seemed surprised as well, an eyebrow raised inquisitively. I certainly didn't expect this. Well, it doesn't matter, Falco butted in. The majority's voted to kick him off anyway. Peppy thought for a moment before he decided to lower his own hand, much to Falco's horror. But, Peppy, you can't possibly think... I'm voting for neither option until I hear Fox's side of the argument, Peppy gestured to the vulpine. Why exactly do you want to keep Wolf on board? The vulpine reclined casually. It's not really an argument, per se. I think you should be asking someone else instead. An awkward silence followed as the three were reminded of their behavior earlier. Peppy coughed once more before speaking. Crystal? Why do you believe we should keep Wolf on board? Expressionless, Crystal slowly stood from her chair. She deliberately eyed each one of them for a moment before she cleared her throat, took a deep breath, and chose her words carefully. The issue of whether to keep Wolf or to get rid of him is obviously important to everyone here. I've come to a great conclusion that keeping him aboard the Great Fox is more beneficial to us in the long run than abandoning him on Fachina. Falco was about to protest, but was silenced by a kick to his leg, delivered by Peppy. The bird exhaled sharply as Crystal continued. As a pilot, Wolf shows remarkable skill. I don't believe any one of us can take him on in a fair fight and live to fly another day. The only reason we've been able to beat him thus far is due to us having a clear advantage in every encounter. She looked at Fox, as if asking for assistance. The vulpine stood and began to speak. She's absolutely right. There's no way we could have beat Wolf yesterday if we didn't have you two. He gestured towards Falky and Slippy, running counterfire from both sides while he chased me down. Not to mention that his ship was already in shambles from the get-go. His right wing consisted of literally a sheet of metal nailed by hand to a wooden plank. The fact that he could even fly such a ship in the first place, let alone fly well enough to require not one, not even two, but three highly skilled pilots to take him down, that's truly incredible. There's no other way to put it. Falco and Slippy eyed each other as Crystal picked up where Fox left off. None of us had ever seen a pilot exhibit such remarkable skill. For us to simply get rid of him, all moral issues aside, is downright foolish. Now, as for... Slippy tried to cut her off, but Crystal fought back aggressively. As for the safety issue that you were just about to bring up, Slippy, the frog pursed his lips ashamedly. I agree with you all wholeheartedly. It is only fitting that such a skilled pilot would also be skilled in such areas as close quarters combat and deception. Normally this would be a large concern of ours, but considering his current state of medical trauma, I highly doubt any of us could be taken by surprise. She lowered her head. Frankly, it's a miracle he's even alive in the first place. Fox glanced over at Wolf, the lupine's bushy tail twitched absently. This brings me to my next point. She returned her eyes to the other teammates as she continued. He really is barely alive. He would have been dead if not for Fox's determination and perseverance, and he will surely die without our help. To reject him now would be to reject Fox's hard work to rescue him. The information Fox had conveyed to her from the hallway earlier was enough for her to clearly and concisely construct the argument to the rest of the group. It seemed to be working. Falco and Slippy had given up trying to interrupt her. and Peppy was clearly impressed by her highly rational approach to this situation. Obviously, we must take the future into account as well. How Wolf reacts to being on board the Great Fox, and his general attitude towards our team, will dictate any further action we take regarding his situation. If he is actively belligerent upon waking, then I will be forced to agree with you three, and let him go without question. Whether this means stranding him on Fachina, or turning him to the Cornerian government, I don't know. We can discuss it if it gets to that point. She paused momentarily to let the point sink in. However, if he doesn't prove himself to be of danger to us, I see no reason why we should be so quick to condemn him to an icy death on Fachina. The entire team, Fox included, was tuned to her every word. She had them in the palm of her hand. With not a moment to lose, Crystal began to wrap up her argument. So, as a result of Fox's risking his life out there, we now have the most skilled pilot of any of us has ever seen, safely aboard our ship, in such a state that he is unable to hurt any of us and is entirely under our control. We have come across an opportunity we may never encounter again, considering the incredibly fortunate circumstances by which we found ourselves in this situation. It would do us well to make the most out of it. That's why Fox and I believe we shouldn't throw Wolf off the Great Fox. She calmly returned to her seat, head held high, as the room filled with a powerful silence. Neither Falco nor Slippy could bring themselves to look at her in the eyes, and Peppy was in deep thought, no doubt processing her argument. Fox could not even begin to express how impressed he was. Crystal had single-handedly combated the other teammates' stubbornness by presenting them with an argument that addressed every one of their concerns. After another tense moment, Peppy cleared his throat. All right, everybody, all in favor of keeping Wolf O'Donnell on board for the foreseeable future? Crystal and Fox confidently rose their hands, and Peppy eventually followed suit. Falco was less than pleased. But he's gonna kill us all! It was Peppy's turn to defend the lupine. Did you not hear Crystal? He's barely even alive. He chuckled. Even though I could overpower him in conditions like these. Admittedly, Wolf had surprised him before, but never in such a state as he was in now. Regardless, Fox wouldn't let his guard down. After all the years of bad blood between the two, he wasn't even sure if he knew how. Fearful and angry words were shared between Slippy and Falco, respectively, but the other three's hands remained in the air despite the protest. Eventually, Peppy silenced the two. That's enough. We're all well aware that you two aren't satisfied with this outcome, but we need you to cooperate with the rest of the team. Wolf is to be permitted to stay on board the Great Fox with us until further notice. He turned to Fox, who nodded sharply in approval. You are all dismissed. Falco had never looked so furious. Cursing, he stormed out of the room while Slippy followed suit, sniffling but otherwise silent. Once they'd left, Peppy turned to Crystal and Fox once more. I'm sure they'll come around soon enough. Fox sighed. I sure hope you're right. Few things bothered Fox more than seeing his teammates upset, but he reassured himself that there was nothing to do at this point except let them get over themselves. Peppy nodded, then yawned. I'm too old for this. I need to go take a nap or something. It's been a long day, Fox reassured him. You deserve all the rest you can get. Thanks for your help today, Peppy. The hare smiled warily. Thank you both for showing rational thought despite the recent emotional strife. I'm glad you two could talk some sense into me. No. Crystal was quick to speak up. We should be thanking you for giving us a chance to present our case. Thank you, Peppy. Her eyes fell upon the lupine on the bed. We'll keep an eye on Wolf for now. You should really go get some rest. All right, if you say so. Peppy nodded somberly before turning to go. Wake me up if you two need help. Good night. As the hare left the room, Fox blinked in surprise. Night? How long was I out? Only a few hours. Crystal checked her wrist comm and yawned. 3:16. Maybe Peppy had the right idea. I'm about to fall asleep here too. You should go ahead and get some rest yourself, Crystal, Fox urged softly. But we need to watch... I'll stay here and keep an eye on him, Fox cut her off. Besides, I could use some time alone to process what's happened. She paused momentarily, her eyebrows raised in concern before giving in. All right, if you say so. They both studied Wolf for a moment before Crystal continued. I'm thinking it might be a good idea to tie him down before he wakes up. Fox turned to her mildly surprised. But you said... It's highly unlikely that he'll try to do anything to hurt us, but it's not out of the picture. She turned to Fox. Falco and Slippy certainly weren't wrong to be concerned about our safety. Fox nodded. You're right. If he isn't hostile, we can consider untying him, but... He looked back towards the dormant lupine. Better safe than sorry. Crystal nodded back. Be careful, Fox. She patted his uninjured shoulder reassuringly. I'll see you in the morning. She eyed the lupine one more time before she turned and left. Fox took a deep breath and clasped his hands together, ready to get to work. But he promptly realized he had no idea how to tie Wolf down. He searched the room briefly for something to use. Conveniently enough, the bed had leather buckles built in along the sides, no doubt for this exact purpose. As he cautiously approached the bed, he began to feel his stomach twist again. Even in Wolf's state, his grisly expression still managed to put Fox on edge. The vulpine reached out for one of the black strips, keeping as far away from his nemesis as possible, and unbuckled it clumsily with fingers that had yet to regain their full range of movement. As he picked up Wolf's wrist, it twitched absently, causing Fox to jump back in alarm. Flooded with adrenaline, he held his defensive position as the medical equipment whirred and beeped prominently against what would otherwise be tense silence. Breathing heavily, he desperately tried to calm himself. Being so close to his nemesis was terrifying. Years of bad blood between them had taught Fox that at any moment Wolf would jump off the bed and attack him, as if he'd actually been awake the whole time. It took every ounce of self-control not to give in to his survival instincts and flee the scene. I could call Crystal over. Maybe she could strap him down for me. As soon as he thought that, he dismissed it. No, she needs sleep. I'm just overreacting. No, you aren't. He's your most formidable foe. Of course you're freaking out. Call her over. That may be true, but he's critically injured. There's no way he could hurt me now. Regardless, he's still causing you emotional strife. Crystal could easily save you the trouble. He shook his head in dismissal of his confusing inner dialogue. I can't let her do it. I need to confront this head on. He closed his eyes for a moment and took a few deep breaths before approaching the table again. This time, Wolf's wrist didn't twitch when Fox picked it up. He gingerly moved it onto the leather strap and buckled it into place. He couldn't help but glance over at the lupine's face as he moved towards the other side of the table. What could only be considered a sneer was revealing some of the teeth at the corners of his contorted muscle. Damn, is that really your resting face? Fox muttered as he fumbled with another belt. He grabbed Wolf's other wrist and strapped it into place more confidently than he did the first. The vulpine failed to suppress a yawn as he finished strapping his enemy's feet into place, sinking into the nearby chair with a weary sigh. The recent events had exhausted him both physically and mentally. He made himself comfortable in the chair and yawned again. What the hell have I gotten myself into? He muttered listlessly. Through heavy eyelids, the last thing Fox noticed before surrendering himself to sleep was Wolf's tail. It flicked once, as if in response to the vulpine's question. You're in for a wild ride, Fox.